The computer. All right, perfect. Hi, Lisa. I saw you sneak on. Hello. So, welcome, everybody. I'm super excited. Astrology is one of my favorite subjects, and so I want to introduce RHETTA to you guys in the way of I've met a lot of astrologers. I worked with a lot of astrologers in my life and in my studios. And RHETTA, when I first worked and did a reading with RHETTA, I was so taken with how unique her approach is. Her approach is she's an evolutionary astrologer. And it was so different than any of the readings and the approaches I had heard before. And I loved kind of it was at once specific, but also spoke to kind of the arcs of your life and the transitions and transits that we move through. And so I love that she's here to share with everybody tonight and also to share in this moment when there's some super powerful like once in a generation transits happening like right now this spring this year. So Retta, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Casey. Thanks for that introduction. I didn't know that. Um, let's see. So yes, I practice evolutionary astrology, and that is focused really on the person. So personal astrology, focused on archetypes. And the reason I keep saying that is that if you're listening to a podcast about astrology or you got one of the apps, they're often telling you about the weather, about the mundane, like what's happening out in the world. And I work with that some, but what I love is to be like, okay, that's happening out in the world, but what does that mean for you? What does it mean for me? How can I respond to this with, my highest self showing up? And so that's where I'm coming from. Before I go into too much more, I would love to see by show of hands, like who here has had a natal chart reading before? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, somebody moved. Okay, so it's about half and half, and let's, my math could be off. Because people are, the way it comes, people are moving around. Okay, that's good to know. And I also want to kind of give you a little bit of background on me, is that I spent my first career was in marketing and brand. I worked in the corporate world, but also in smaller design agencies. And so I came to astrology kind of late in life. It was 2010 when I had my first reading. And I found it to be just so much more revealing and telling, and it surprised me because I was from this kind of MBA Excel spreadsheet. If you cannot quantify it, it does not count, and it doesn't matter. I was of that thinking. And so to meet an astrologer and get brought into this world, and she's reading my chart and she's saying things about me that I've thought and felt, and I'm thinking, how does she know this? And then she did the most magical thing, is she told me like what my dharma was, my karma and my dharma, what I came into this life to release, what I was to embrace, and then what to move toward. And that really helped me so much. It clarified what I needed to do and in my career at that point. So that's how it kind of came to me. I fell in love with it, and by 2015 I'd gotten a master's degree in it and I was practicing. So that's kind of how I came to be where I am. And so today what I do is I use astrology to help people figure out what their purpose is and what to do with their lives, reminding them what lights them up, because we know it's inside us, and all astrology is doing is holding up a mirror to you. It's reflecting what's already in you. And no one has to get a natal chart reading. It is not required. There are other ways to go about finding these answers, learning more about who you are. It's just a tool that I fell in love with and I found to be very useful of learning, expanding your consciousness, self-awareness, and all that kind of stuff. So with that, so I chose evolutionary astrology, which is based on a couple premises. One, it believes that the soul has lived many lifetimes. and that the soul chose to come down. Like the soul chose, like, I want to be Casey, and here's why. And so, you've come to Earth School for a particular reason, set of reasons. And so the chart, the way I can look at the chart is I can see what those reasons were. I can see what it felt like to be you in a previous life. I can't see previous lives. I know there are talented people who can, but I cannot. I see what it felt like to be you. And from that, I can see, oh, so if in a past life you felt cut off, you felt your voice was quashed. This life, it's very important that you find and use your voice. It's an example like that. And here's another thing is that astrology is always correct archetypally. Now, it may not be 100% accurate predictively. It's how we interpret the archetypes of the accuracy, or sometimes it's often, it might be a year later and you're looking back and you're like, aha, that's what that meant. So I wanted to throw that out there too, for those who haven't had a reading before. In the reading, I wouldn't be able to say, oh, you're supposed to bake croissants 4 times a week. It doesn't get that specific. It's something more like, oh, you have strong in your chart is the archetype of a nurturer. So that's what I wanted to, because I wanted a clear set instructions when I went. So it took me a while. I was coming from that really blocked mindset. It took me a while to open and to understand it archetypally. My guess is this community is ahead of that. You're already pretty open to even be here. So those are that's kind of the general setup. Now, I can pause for some questions. And before I do, I was going to tell you what I was going to do next was explain the 12 key archetypal fields, the signs, and then at the end, talk about the current weather. Before I go on, does anyone have a question or comment or something you want to, please cover this before we're done? Anybody?
Yes, Fred. You said that the people who console you, usually they want to know what it is the true meaning in life, or they are looking for a career path change or something like that, kind of.
Yes.
But you are not able to tell them, oh, you're supposed to go in this direction or that direction. You generally will tell them pretty much what could it be the consultation, or what would be the answer for a person who asks you, look, I'm lost, I may incorporate a career, I'm not feeling well over there, I don't think it's my path. What would be your recommendation in cases like that?
Well, what we would do is go through your chart. Okay. And there's several. So I also want to back up and explain that the natal chart shows where every planet was at the moment of your birth. So the exact time is crucial, as well as the geographic location. And so often we'll say, what's your sign? And what people are referring to is just what the sign the sun was in when you were born. But every planet or every body from the sun all the way out to Pluto was in a sign. And that means something, as well as if Pluto is sitting by the sun, that means something. So I don't want to go into too much of that, but I wanted to explain it's quite complex, this picture of the sky the moment you were born. And this picture is also like your lesson plan for this lifetime. So what I would do is we need to look at the whole chart. I need to synthesize it. I need to see what planet's next to which one, what sign is your moon in, what sign is your sun in. And then we're gonna have a conversation, because the sun will tell you what you need in your life to feel alive. If any of you, I don't feel any live around here in San Francisco where it's so cloudy, it's like, oh, it's cloudy. And then the sun comes out and we are just like lit up. Everybody's outside. It's very energizing. That's what the sun symbolizes in your life. So if you're in a job where it's not you feel like, I don't want to go. First place I'm going to look is the sun, and to see if the needs of your particular sun, are they being met in this job? Now, then we can ideate on what would light up this sun. So let's say, what is your sun sign? This might be more accurate if you tell me. Do you know your sign?
Gemini.
Gemini, perfect. Of course, the question asker. And I have a squirmy dog. Please excuse me. Gemini. So I would say what lights up a Gemini sun is the ability to, there's two things. It wants first to be able on a daily basis, frequent basis, have its perception shifted. To be in a situation where you're following your curiosity, asking questions and listening to answers. And then at some point you get to go, aha, never thought of it that way. That lights up a Gemini, the first part. The second part is then to turn to someone and say, hey, did you know? Da, 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 da. Then you got more energy coming to you. So that's one big chunk of what you do in the world. You need to be shifting perceptions as well as having your own. So we mark that down, right? Then there's some other places in the chart I'm going to look at. Your karma. What are you here to release? What are you going to embrace? And from that, what usually happens after I talk about 15 minutes of the chart, the person's like, no, I know what it is. Like, you know, the person knows. They just don't want to say it, afraid to say it, or I don't know, it could be, or maybe they forgot for a moment. But like in my case, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to have my own business, but I was a manager. I managed people. So I'm like, how do you do that? How do I work by myself managing people? So, and so when the astrologer was saying, well, you're a spiritual warrior, you're an entrepreneur. I'm like, I was like, lady, no. And I fought her on it because, you know, I'm Aries and difficult. So, just Aries rising. So anyway, and then finally I'm like, oh, it became clear. So that is a long answer. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I wasn't expecting a specific RHETTA, but yes, of course, yes. You tell me a lot. Thank you. Probably more than I was expecting.
Well, I wanted to make sure everybody was kind of caught up on it because it is it's a lot. There's a lot to it, you know. Okay, and and that's also why I do coaching with the astrology, because I would go to astrologers and they would talk at me for 90 minutes, which gave me all kinds of information. It was crazy good information. But then I wanted someone I could then talk to about it. Well, what is it, you know, and like, let's process it together. And then now what? And that's what, since I've launched products and services, I now love it to say that I launch people. So once you remember this thing, you find this thing you want to do, the third phase of working together is like, all right, so how do we do it? How do we stand it up? Or how do you go find that job? So that it's a soup to nuts, shifting the career. Okay. Anyone else?
May I quickly?
Yeah.
Hi. Can you tell me, given nature is more astrology, I would think, is nurture, where do you get the nature and the nurture, given the complexity of humans?
And does that mean which comes through more in, like, am I the way I am because of my chart, or am I the way I am because of the way I was raised? Is that
the question is, like, can you, in the chart, can you go to the moon sign? Can you go to the native sign? What attunes you to both? Because both are such a driving force or farce, depending on our evolution and development. I was just curious, and if it's too far afield, that's okay.
It's kind of why I feel like where it might hit is often when I'm talking to someone about their past life story, which I tell them about, I know how it felt to be them, so I sort of make up a little story to to give it a little more zhuzh to it. And often, I'd say 9 out of 10 times people say, that was my life earlier. That's how the first 20 years of my life was. So in a sense, I feel like, if I don't know if I'm hitting the question, but I felt like, oh, so I was in that family, born into that family because my soul chose it to be. And then I was nurtured that way because my soul needed that situation to then.
Yeah,
Does that hit it?
absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Anyone else? Does everyone here know what their sign is? Oh, there is a hand up. Do I need to answer that hand?
I checked. I think that might be an accidental hand, but I'll
Okay.
keep an eye. Yes.
Okay.
Angie, yeah.
Sorry, so I asked a question and then I didn't look at the answer because I'm a little keyed up right now. I'm just really nervous and excited. Does everybody know their sign? Because I can now go through the signs. And this is what I was going to do, is take us through the 12 signs, or the 12 archetypal fields. And it is focused very much on what the sun needs in a particular sign. So then it would help you know, if you're feeling kind of glum, then it's like, all right, this is the thing. This is going to help. It's going to inform you what you need to bring more of into your life to feel alive. Now, also, when you're listening to this, if you're like, well, I'm a Gemini, but that Taurus sounded really more like me, then just, lean into that. It may be true. You may have Taurus rising, Venus in Taurus, the moon in Taurus. And no one is ever purely one archetype. They're all always blended. So feel free to just go, oh, says I'm a Gemini, but I feel more Taurus today. It's totally fine as well. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna turn on these cards, and if anybody wants a card, they are on my my website. I think I gotta do it this way, if this is okay. Can you see that? I don't think I've got it.
Yeah, I can see it just fine.
Okay. And I think I've got it. Well, that's fine for now. Is that okay that you can see the other one?
Perfect.
All right. So is anyone here an Aries? Carmen, I would have never guessed that. Carmen, I don't know you that well, but I would have. Carmen, so would you do me the honor, Carmen, and read the evolutionary aim? Can you see this? The evolutionary aim of an Aries sun.
Sure.
I can make it bigger if you need me to.
That's okay. I resolve to follow the soul path of the spiritual warrior. Emphatically, this does not mean that I intend to harm anyone. Instead, it means that I resolve never to let fear shape my decisions. I will have something beyond myself to live for in this lifetime. I will stand for my principles, and I will be loyal to those whom I love. Being true to this path is the source of my energy, my self-respect, and my recuperative powers, as well as the foundation of my spiritual sanity.
How does that feel? And anyone who knows Carmen, does that seem spot on?
It feels pretty spot on for me, other than the place about fear. I have left fear. So that's where that's not in alignment.
Right. And that's a great point to bring up, because this is the evolutionary aim, is to not let it. So what would mean synchronistically, it will happen in your life. So then you can change that. You can overcome fear. So probably what can happen also synchronistically is scarier things might happen to you frequently until, and so here's like the second, and Elizabeth, your hand is up. Does that mean you're an Aries also?
I am. Yep.
Oh, awesome. So
Birthday was yesterday, actually.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Well, so here's a little more about Aries. And so what Aries is learning is courage. And so to learn courage, you have to face a fear. They go hand in hand. And also what the chart can't tell me is where you're starting on this lesson. Because I've met some people who are in Aries who are very timid. They don't want to upset anyone. So they're just the beginning of starting to learn this courage and to stand up or to be, confront people. And then there are others who are like way on the other end and they're jumping out of airplanes and they're like want to pick a fight. And it's like, okay, bring it back. We're trying to find this middle place with it. Okay, does that resonate, Elizabeth? I see a little nod there.
It does. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what you're seeking is a challenge. You need a good challenge in your life. All right. All right, I'm gonna move on because I see I'll just talk forever. Do we have a Taurus in the house? Carla, I just saw Carla's hand. Would Carla, would you like to read? I couldn't make out the other person. Oh, you're muted. She can't unmute, I think.
There we go. In this lifetime, I resolve to achieve a peaceful heart. I humbly acknowledge the tension and woundedness present in my soul. I take no shame in that reality. I realize that the origin of this pain lies in the mysteries of who I was before I was born into this body. I resolve to realize that now that I have won the ancient war, I must win the peace. I seek and deserve the solace I need. Being true to this path is the source of my energy and my recuperative powers, as well as the foundation of my spiritual sanity.
Perfect. How does it feel to read that?
Pretty true.
The main thing I tell my Taurus clients is your main lesson here is to calm down, to like find peace, to enjoy being in these suits we have, to eat good food, to enjoy touch and nature. And everybody, that's a good thing to tell anybody, right? I realize how ridiculous that might sound, but it's of Taurus needs that at a deep level. It's an evolutionary necessity that you let your soul really calm down this time around, and to really do what you can to enjoy being in this human suit. And was there another Taurus? Was it Katie? Maybe not. I thought I heard somebody. And where the shadow for Taurus can be if it slows down too much. It gets too comfortable being like just stuck in one place. So it's trying to find that right balance. And you might notice each sign is a kind of a remedy to the prior sign. So if Aries is like, I am, and fire, and like, let's go out and face our fears, then Taurus is like, can we take a nap? And so and we need, as humans, we need both, right? And so, okay, so just throwing that out there. All right, Gemini. I know we got one Gemini in the house. Anyone else? Gemini want to read this for me? Oh, you're muted. You don't have to mute.
Yes, I resolve to cultivate a beginner's mind. That is to say, I celebrate questions more than I celebrate answers. I accept the principle that whatever I might see, the truth is beyond that. In other words, the wiser I become, the greater my area of contact with the unknown becomes. I celebrate that too. I realize that in pursuing such questions, I find my true voice. Being true to this path is the source of my energy, my self-respect, and my recuperative power, as well as the foundation of my spiritual sanity. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, one thing that resonates is the curiosity. Really, The thing is, RHETTA, yes, I ask questions and I'm interested in all fields. And sometimes I will wonder in between careers or I mean, tasks or jobs. And I've been doing all kinds of things and I'm kind of feeding everyone. At the same time, I don't feeding any because I don't really stay too long. Let's say that. Because in order for you to master something, well, people say you have to spend years and years and years. So there are people who has 20 years in one profession, 40 years, some people one career only. And for me, well, I'm not sure what is the reason, but I like to know a lot of things in different, and if I met somebody who is doing something I want to know, probably I'm not going to do that, but I want to know what they are doing, how they are doing, things like that, and probably that resonates.
Yeah, and that makes perfect sense because what crushes a Gemini is boredom, routine. That is going to just turn your lights off.
True.
So it makes sense. You're learning different things, and my astrology teacher makes a little joke that it's like that Geminis, by the end of their lifetime, they're going to know millions of things that they'll never get paid for, but they're just studying something, reading something, learning, and there's something. And I saw your chart. We might be able to figure out why from this previous life, why this thirst for so much information, why it exists. But it's you've come by it very honestly. It doesn't mean anything's wrong. That's what the astrology really helped me see. It's like there's nothing wrong with you changing jobs a lot or following your curiosity. I don't know how changing jobs has affected you, but what I really mean is following your curiosity is an evolutionary necessity for you. So now and then, but watching out for, what we have to watch the shadow is when you get too busy, when you're just buzzing around, living from the neck up, not really taking in the information or being present in your life or being present for others. So there's always a fine line to kind of watch that balancing act.
So you said living too much on the head instead of in the present moment in the body.
Yeah, or in the body, in the heart. So whereas like Taurus is all about being in the body, and here comes Gemini right after, it's all in the head.
Yeah, that resonates too.
It resonates, right? And so then but all 12 of these archetypes are in all of us. You just may be majoring in one or two of them or three of them, depending on where your planets in your chart are. And you'll probably tell as we go through it, like, oh, that's one's got my number. All right, any other Geminis before I roll on here?
No, RHETTA, I just want to give you a quick time check. It's 6:30 now, so about halfway.
Yeah, that's what I was like. I'm going through this super fast, but to get to the weather, I gotta go. I'm gonna go fast. Okay. So Cancer. Do I have a Cancer in the house? Yay, Linda, our dreamer, of course. Linda, would you read this? This makes so much sense.
Okay, in this lifetime, I resolve to cultivate an open heart. I aim to become fully vulnerable to my own humanity. I do not edit, restrict, or judge my feelings. As I accomplish these aims, I am healing an ancient wound in myself. As I progress in that healing process, my capacity to heal others increases proportionately. Ultimately, I'm here to be a healer of some sort, but I recognize that in order to accomplish that aim, I must first heal myself. Oh, of course, right? Being true to this path is the source of my energy, my self-respect, and my recuperative powers, as well as the foundation of my spiritual sanity.
Yes.
Yes.
How was that? Does that sound like you?
Sounds like my life.
Yeah. And so you're learning, so this key lesson is right relationship with feelings, to have some type of emotional equanimity so that you're not totally pulled under by them. You're also not totally, disconnected from them. Yeah. Right. So it's and then learning and making sure you're also not hiding behind, you're such a good helper, healer. People can just sense it in you. They probably come up to you at the grocery store and want to tell you all their problems. And so you have to kind of make sure that or watch out for, you're not spending too much of your time on others, that you're healing and caring for yourself first, then the others. Everything has a shadow. All right, where are my Leos? Sorry you had to wait till the 5th to go. No Leos? Okay. Okay, well, we've got our Leos here. Leos are learning to trust humanity again, which is why they have to create something and then boldly share it, and they need this validation, because it's once they create something and share it, and then it's met with validation and applause, it completes a loop. And in that loop, they can feel, oh, well, you people might be all right. Okay. And so that's why our Leos, if you've got a Leo in your life, dear God, please applaud. Let them know how much they mean to you. Let them know how great they set the table. Let them know everything. And they need it from an evolutionary standpoint. This is not in any way a problem. They need this to love us. Okay, jumping on, we do Virgos. We gotta have some Virgo healers in here. Yay, Tyla, am I saying that right? Tyla?
It's Talia.
Talia. Would you read that for me, please?
Sure. I resolve to learn to love myself and to accomplish that aim in the most difficult of conceivable circumstances. Darn. A radically honest mind, I will never take refuge in false pride or delusion or grandeur. I will see myself clearly and I will work on myself relentlessly. I also resolve to take the talents and skills that have been given and polish them. I will then offer them as a meaningful service to my community. Being true to this path is the source of my energy, my self-respect, and my recuperative powers, as well as the foundation of my spiritual sanity.
Boom. So I always think Virgo has like the most challenging evolutionary task, to be able to see itself truthfully, faults and all, and love itself. So you signed up for a high challenge. How did it feel to read that?
Actually refreshing. It's very different than anything I've read about Virgo before, and it's
Yeah.
right
And they
on.
can often be kind of mean to Virgos, I think.
I'm not that neat, organized, so.
Yeah. That's just like one possible strategy, but it's not. Like the key lesson is or what they seek to do, what they see is Virgos can see the ideal. You see perfection. Like the divine gave you that gift, and then it gave you this ability to go and make things better. Problem is you're dealing with a bunch of humans who cannot meet that level. We can't attain the perfection that you can see. So it's so therein lies the rub of being a Virgo. And but yes, it does not have to mean you're overly neat, but you might get but it is this shadow of watching out if you're continuously trying to improve or overly analytical. Okay, I'm moving on. Speedy. Libras, any Libras? Heather, would you please read the evolutionary aim of the...
Sure. I resolve to achieve a condition of harmony, ease, and balance in my consciousness in this lifetime. I recognize that I was born in a state of tension. I understand that the source of this tension is unresolved trauma from a prior existence. Recovery, the attainment of serenity of spirit, is my overarching aim in this lifetime. Nothing else matters nearly as much. Remembering that and being true to this path is the source of my energy and my recuperative powers, as well as foundation of my spiritual sanity. Wow.
Wow. Yeah. Any comments about that?
Definitely resonates. Yeah.
And it is with and with Libras, they have to watch out. You know, Libras are typically have this gift of balancing and connecting with people and keeping the peace. They just have to watch out that they're not keeping the peace at their own expense. Right? The rub, the challenge there is how to create a truly equal relationship. And is it equal over a lifetime, equal over the day? You know, depends on the relationship, I suppose. But that's what you're also, like Taurus, you're seeking peace. You've come to calm down. You might have had a really rough go last time.
Yeah, I think so.
We're here to just calm down a little bit. Enjoy what is beautiful. Scorpio. I always think Casey's a Scorpio, but you're not, are you?
No, I am.
Oh, you are.
I am, but I want to see who. I want to see Gwen.
Who else is?
Well,
Any
you
other
guys,
Scorpios? Come on out.
Of course, Gwen. Yes. No, Gwen, go for it.
You guys, I'm rising with multiple signs in Scorpio. I'm a Libra by birth.
Okay,
First
so
sign.
Libra sun, but then Scorpio rising.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense.
Multiple signs in Scorpio.
Depth. Beautiful. I love it. Those two they're right side by side. Right? Well, obviously you just know that. Anyone else want to read? Who would like to read the Scorpio evolutionary aim?
I'll go for it. Yes. I resolve in this lifetime to make my unconscious mind conscious. I will turn away from no truth, no matter how threatening it might feel. In this lifetime, I will wrestle honestly with the fundamental questions of life and death. I celebrate my sexuality for many reasons, including for the complex questions it raises in my life. The inner journey is a warrior's journey. It requires courage. I accept that. In fact, I revel in it. Being true to this path is the source of my energy, my self-respect, my recuperative powers, as well as the foundation of my spiritual sanity.
Yeah. Do you wrestle with fundamental questions of life and death?
Sometimes.
I know. And if you did, you wouldn't tell me, would you?
Yes.
Yeah, so Scorpio is deep, likes to go deep, and its main lesson is it seeks to make what is unconscious conscious. Let's bring it to light. Let's dig down and bring it up in order to heal it. And so it's very powerful. So you're learning to have right use of powers. So part of the power is, I think Scorpios can see through the BS. You know when someone's lying to you. And so there's kind of like, and you know also how to hurt someone, let's say, like a Scorpio knows where to put that stinger. So this is kind of what it means by right use of power, to watch how you wield it in the world. But definitely you want to get to the truth. There's a beautiful depth and intensity here, which I think is just right beside that Libra who's like, oh, let's make nice. And Scorpio's like, I don't care about being nice. I want to know the truth. So they're all responding to each other, trying to stay on time because I don't want this Scorpio mad at me. Okay, who has a Sag sun? Oh, is it Joe? Just a hand up. You go. I think you're muted. Would you read the Sag for us? I think he's still muted. So I'll just tell you a little while we're working on that. That Sagittarius need to like, as Scorpio is going down deep and they can be a little secretive, protective until they're ready. Sag is like, let's go. I want everybody to know and everyone can come with me. And it's this big expansion. It's on a quest for meaning. And it's fiery, it's bouncy, it's enthusiastic. And so you are here the thing I say to Sagittarius is it's really good for you, especially the first part of your life, is to make interesting mistakes. Try things. Try bizarre jobs. Just try stuff. Join this community. See how it goes. And then later in life, you're going to be able to step back and you'll see all these dots up on the wall of all the things you've tried. And then the Sagittarius in you will see the pattern. And your takeaway will be, this is what I know to be true. And that's what's going to light you up. Is first the questing and then the aha, this is what it means. So, sorry we couldn't get you on there, Joe. And then Capricorn, any Capricorns in the house?
Okay, wait, can I say something really quick?
Yeah.
I'm a Sagittarius, and right when you started saying something, my freaking phone cut off. So I don't know if that's a sign or if you said anything I missed. But, you know, I just wanted to say, pop in real quick.
Oh, good, good. Well, I just said that Sagittarians, my suggestion to all Sagittarians is to make interesting mistakes, to just try things in the beginning part of life. And I mean that up to 40, 50, whenever you decide. And then the second half of life will be kind of synthesizing and pulling out the key points and the patterns and saying, this is what is true for me. Because what lights up Sagittarius is being on a quest for meaning. You know, studying lots of things, having long conversations with people you have nothing in common with. You know, to explore that. Travel is great for Sagittarians. Does that resonate for you?
Yeah. Wait, am I muted?
No.
Yes, it definitely does. I feel really ignited when I'm traveling and when I'm just exploring different ways that people think, especially if they're not the ways that I think. I actually find it really fascinating. So yeah, I think that resonates a lot.
Okay. Well, good. And that's what, if you came to me and you were feeling really down and blue, I would say, what would you like to study? Is there something you'd like to be studying? A place you want to travel to? Like, you need to kind of be out shaking things up. Go to a restaurant you've never been to before. Like, similar to Gemini, like, you cannot get in a rut. You need new and different all the time. That does not work for Taurus, but it lights up the Sagittarius.
I think I'm a Sagittarius, moon and rising, and a Gemini. I think those are my three main. So.
Okay, good. Let's let it air and fire.
Oh my God. Yeah. Okay, thanks.
So does anyone have Capricorn? Going back to Earth. Capricorn. No Capricorns. All right.
I do.
Well, please read this one for me. I can't tell who's who. Is that Natalie?
Okay. This is Natalie, yes. I resolve to make my appetites, personal needs, and fears subordinate to my higher intentions. My willpower, not my appetite, shapes my life. Every other aspect of my being has its place of honor and acceptance, but it is always secondary to my sense of mission in the world. I've reached a stage in my evolutionary journey in which I know I must perform a great work. Being true to this path is the source of my energy, my self-respect, and my recuperative powers, as well as the foundation of my spiritual sanity.
Exactly. So Capricorn needs a mission. Does that feel true to you?
Very much so.
And the key or the trick for Capricorn is finding the mission that's rooted in your soul. Because Capricorns they often show up and present as so capable, can do anything. And so then the world outside, family, teachers, whatever, they put on you like, well, then you should be this, or you should be that. Or maybe you pick up an idea, I'll be successful or happy if I do this thing. And that's like Capricorn can get a little bit of trouble. So it's making sure that the mountain you choose to climb is your mountain, the one you chose. And it's okay if you start up a mountain, it's not the right one. You just come down and you just go up another one. So then going on to Aquarius. Any Aquarii, you think? I don't know if that's the right. Joe's hand is up, but I think that's
Yes.
Marcy. Is that Marcy? All
Yes.
right, Marcy, would you read that one for us?
Of course. I resolve above all to be true to myself. That is, I resolve to sort out who I really am from everything I have been trained or conditioned to believe that I am. I recognize the dilemma. Half of what I am is actually rooted in my soul, while the other half is merely a product of my society, the age in which I am living, my family of origin, and so on. I resolve to sort out which half is which and to follow my own path no matter what cost, criticisms, or judgments arise. I will not be duped into living a life that is not truly my own. Being true to this path is the source of my energy, my self-respect, and my recuperative powers, as well as the foundation of my spiritual sanity.
Exactly. So with does that resonate for you?
Yes.
Yes. So Aquarius is learning to individuate, find out who am I truly, without all this other stuff being put on me, and it's getting comfortable with being, maybe even being the weird one, the odd one, because we need Aquarius to kind of to stand out, to take us forward, and we're entering, the age of Aquarius, or we're already in it. I don't know who you asked, but Aquarius is very strong right now. And so being disruptive. And so I would say if you, sorry, my hand's up, if you were in a job situation where your unique opinion is not valued, then that would be really hard, because we need, that's where it's going to really quash your light. So it's important that your unique look at the world is valued. Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
If anyone calls you weird, say thank you. If you want. Pisces, where's the Pisces? We'll close this out.
I'm a Pisces.
Hi, Sarah. Would you read the Pisces, please?
Oops, Bonnie's a Pisces too.
Oh, sorry. Who wants to read?
Sarah, you do it.
Okay. I resolve to attain and explore a significantly higher state of consciousness in this lifetime. I resolve increasingly to separate my consciousness from my personality and to become more identified with consciousness itself. I accept the fact that I am positioned for such a breakthrough that in this lifetime I might, with skillful effort, become significantly more transparent to the divine. Being true to this path is the source of my energy, my self-respect, and my recuperative powers, as well as the foundation of my spiritual sanity.
Yeah. Does that sound like you? Does it sound like something you like in your life? Yeah.
Yeah. This is also similar to what someone else said. This is different from like what I've read.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of processing it.
And that's why, certainly give it some time. And it just means it's more about why you're a Pisces. What's the point of being a Pisces? What's the purpose of it? It is seeking transcendence. And how the mode you take to get there could be very different. But it's seeking transcendence. It's learning how to integrate, how to live with deep compassion. Pisces feels everything. You feel what you're feeling, what the person next to you, what the entire collective, conscious or unconscious. So it's and that's where it can be hard to be a Pisces. You can feel overwhelmed by it all. So learning how to surf the waves. But you have typically these gifts of imagination, creativity. And that would be another thing for Pisces. Needs this in their life, where they can explore, where they can sit and just stare. They can do something creative. That's going to energize you. So Bonnie, anything you want to say or add about being a Pisces? Or It's frozen again.
No, I think that pretty much says it all for me.
Good. Okay. And the reason I wanted to start here, so I know we're running out of the clock, but I think it's so important to know where we're starting from, to then understand when a transit happens out in the cosmos, depending on where your planets are in your chart, will dictate how much this transit's going to impact you. So let's say tomorrow, 9:19 p.m. Pacific, we have a solar eclipse. It's a full solar eclipse. It will not be visible in the United States, but we will feel it in the United States. And some of us are probably already feeling it. And eclipses are kind of erratic, bring this erratic energy. It's where like the lights go out and the lights come back on, and it's, and so what that can do is give us this jump forward. I think of it like rebooting the computer or anything, anything electronic, it's just not working. It's like, turn it off and turn it back on. That's what I feel like an eclipse is doing for us. And it's in the sign of Aries. So if you are in Aries, you're gonna feel it a little bit more. I think also Taurus is gonna feel it because it's at 29, it's right at the tiny end of Aries. But also it would mean Libra, Capricorn, who is off Aries? I'm trying to get all the cardinals. Cancer, those four, it's going to feel even stronger for. And what it's inviting us to do, it's like a typical new moon where you set an intention, plant a seed for something you want to bring into your life or something you want to, show up more as in your life. This is the same thing. It's just got a little more oomph to it, supercharged. And it will last, you'll be feeling it over the next 2 years. And it is asking us, I think, to lean into our courage. Remember, we were reading about Aries in the beginning? It's learning to face fear and be courageous and start something new. And I think it's also tying into these other bigger transits we have of Pluto, which is went into the sign of Aquarius a few weeks ago. And it was last in Aquarius during 1777 through 1795. And you can give me plus or minus a few years. I don't have it memorized. And so it takes 248 years for Pluto to go all the way around and return to a sign. So this is it's a really powerful time. And if we think about what was going on in the United States during those years, 1777, 1790 something, it was like that we had won the freedom, written the Constitution, and now there's like, well, now what? How do we really live? How do we rule, do this thing, have this democracy? And I think, they did the best they could. And now I think we're revisiting that. Like, what is democracy? What is equality? How can we truly be individuals? Be an Aquarian individual. We have our Aquarius somewhere here. Is it Marcy? Like, be really unique, authentically who we are, and yet we belong. And so this eclipse it's tying into that as well, to say, like, who do you want to be? What's the life you're going to create that's worth living? And I think another thing about this is that coming for Pluto is about power. And it also shows us, I think it's saying the power is in the people now. And so we have to show up, be the people to have the world we want. And it's going to start each of these smaller transits and cycles or invitations to that. Any questions in the last 2 minutes? I'm sorry, I'm just trying to hit the buzzer. Any questions on that or other anything?
So many questions. I would love for you to touch on, because one of the things I found so unique about your work, RHETTA, was the nodes. A lot of times people know their sun sign and they might know their rising sign and their moon sign, but your teaching me of the nodes was really, really helpful and profound. So if you could just touch on that for people that might be new to the concept of nodes and what they are.
And so the nodes, that's actually a key part of evolutionary astrology. We work with the nodes a lot. And the south node, and these are not bodies or planets, they're like points mathematically calculated. I don't know what, we can look up the technical part, but I just want you to know that they are points in the sky. They're not like a planetary body. But what they tell us, the south node represents what you felt like in a past life, what it felt like to be you. And therefore it's your karma that you're coming into this life with. And in some of that, there's some gifts, there's some nuggets of like, oh, I'm really good at this thing because I've been doing it 1,000 years. And then here's this other thing I've been doing maybe 1,000 years, but it no longer serves me. So I want to release that. And it could take a lifetime to release it. So you imagine if you were like a smoker for 10,000 years, and then you got to drop that habit. It's going to take a while. So it might be the habit of focusing too much on other people. It's a archetype like that, and it's like, all right, I need to focus on myself, focus on what I'm here to do. So the south node tells us what you felt like to be you in a past life, the gifts that you want to embrace in this life, and the habits that you've come to release. Then the north node is the direction to point yourself in. That's like how you're in the flow, and it's almost like the sun again. It's another thing that'll light you up as you move toward it.
Love it. One question that's really, really timely right now is we have the big solar eclipse tomorrow, right? And then we have a lunar eclipse on May 5th. Yeah. So a lot of people I speak to right now are kind of feeling a thing, all kinds of things. They are like rapidly feeling like their skin almost doesn't contain themselves anymore. They're moving very uncomfortably and unfamiliarly into who they're becoming and kind of in that in between. So is this time between the eclipses a time to just cool it and just let, you know what I mean? Like just let things be stirred up, but don't make big decisions? Or is this a time to take those big steps? I'd just like you to give some insight to like this unique little window we're in right now.
Yeah, it kind of depends. It kind of depends on what it is. Because also like what we've got going on this week is Mercury retrograde. It starts, and I can't remember now if it's Thursday or Friday. So and then and since this new moon eclipse that we're having tomorrow night is in Aries, it's saying start, launch, commit. So it really it would just so much depend on where it's hitting in your chart that's the very honest answer. And then it's kind of it is a real shaky time. So there is a lot of doing it is recommended to do extra things that help you ground. And even having like Pluto in Aquarius, it's this very electrical energy, air, it's strong. And so it's in some ways, you're working with it, lean into it. The other, you do the opposite to ground down. I do know that the lunar eclipses tend to affect the body more. So that's also why I was pausing, is because that one might be a more of like ground and and listening to yourself, slowing down. This one that we're having tomorrow is more lean in and activate, work with the energy. Now watch, since it's in Aries, we might see some tempers flaring and people kind of acting out. So there is a like, whoa, try to pause that, but I don't think I need to say that to this audience. But we may see that playing out in courtrooms and other things this week.
Can I quickly ask, how do we find where it hits? What are we looking for in our chart to see where it's going through or the transit?
Yeah, you'd want to take a look at the chart.
Class.
In the
If it's a
chart,
quick. Mhm.
are you one of the people who've seen your chart? I can pull up a chart, show you what a chart looks like. So it would need to, this is just like what's going on right now. Let's see. So see how these, it's like all the 12 pieces of pie. These numbers here, all these lines, these little pieces of pie. So I would look and see what slice of pie is it sitting in, which is what house it's sitting in. So for this is just the clock, but if it's in the 7th house.
You mean Aries or the sun sign?
Well, I was looking at the sun in Aries because that will be what the new moon, solar eclipse will be in Aries.
Thank you.
So that's why I would look to see what house it's in, and then what other planets it's contacting.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have a question? Lisa, when's your birthday?
Yeah, Lisa, you weren't on there.
I was raising my hand. I'm a Virgo with Talia, and I completely agreed with your perception that this was so different from everything I'd ever read. I think that's why I never really got that into astrology. I never really resonated with my Virgo type. I never thought I was that neat or a perfectionist or any of the kind of prissy things that you typically read about Virgos. But that one was like, wow, I really do resonate with that.
Good. And same with me. I think that's what got me with the evolutionary astrology, because it's telling me what I'm learning, what I need to move, what direction to move in, what to let go of. And even how I moved here, I had, it took me forever. I was living in the city in a tiny apartment. It was cold and windy, and I have a Taurus moon, and it's like, oh, I need to be near nature. I need to see the water. I need a pet. And it took me till I was 50 to go, okay, I'm going to try it. And it was this immediately soothing. And so that's how I take it into account. Like I don't study the chart every day and make every decision looking at the chart, but I do have periodically, look to it to see like, all right, I'm feeling kind of low. Oh, I'm a Libra. I need relationships. I need to go talk to another person. I need that in my work. And so I feel like I use it quite pragmatically. And then, so I don't know if that's answering the question. And, I can give you the cards, and then it just gives you a little something to take into consideration.
I have one more for those who can stay. I would love for you to share with folks, RHETTA, the difference between your sun sign and your ascendant sign.
Okay.
Because a lot of astrologer, signs, when you read them, they say read for both. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay, reading for both. And why? Yeah, like, what is the difference? Why? Why?
I think there's like the primary triad, mm-hmm. which is like the skeleton of the chart, which would be the sun, the moon, and the rising. And so I think of those three like a peanut M&M. And the rising is the first thing you see. It's like the way you dawn on someone. It was the sign that was coming up in the sky at dawn, when you were born. So so if we go back to the peanut M&M thing, it's if you look at a bunch of peanut M&Ms, you're like, I'm going to have the yellow one, right? Because that's the thing you see first. And then you go one level deeper and you're like, oh, the chocolate, that's your sun. And then because, again, the rising sign is the persona that you kind of zip yourself up into and go out and interact in the world. Because, within us, we got a lot of like, oh, well, 20% of me would like to eat a piece of cake. 10% of me thinks I need to study more. 8% of me says, let's move to Hawaii. So all this stuff's going on all the time, right? So what is the persona that you go out into the world and say, hello, my name is Bill. And so the rising is often what people notice about you first. It's how you look at a job interview, at a cocktail party. Then the next, when people spend a little more time with you, they get to the chocolate middle, that's the sun. Then, if you're really feeling like I'm gonna share who I am, I said, this little very center, that's your moon. And some people share their moon very easily. And it's like, when they say she wears her heart in her sleeve, they probably have the moon in the first house, right near the ascendant. Now, I would think someone who's a Scorpio is just not going to show the moon until they really have to, because it's not a Scorpio nature to go sharing things. Sagittarius, probably fine. I'm going to tell you. So it's so I think the rising. So I think that's why I also think in our early years, maybe until we're 21 or so, we probably live more from that rising sign than the sun, because we're figuring out who we are and moving into that identity. Did that answer the question?
Totally, totally. And explains too why sometimes you meet people and you're like, because you don't seem like like I had the same, like Carm just had her birthday and I was like, Carmen's an Aries? Like Carmen's an Aries? But then Carmen's she's a Sagittarius ascendant. And I was like, that makes sense.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So it's the synthesis of the two. I get it. Yeah.
Yes. And what can happen then is you have someone who has their sun is opposite the rising, then that person comes off as like, it's weird to be that person, because you're kind of like sometimes, so I have Aries rising. So sometimes like, let's go. What are we doing? I got to talk about it. Then I'm a Libra sun. I'm like, well, let's just have a cup of tea and think about it. And so it can feel like you got to pedal, one foot on the gas, one foot on the brake. And so that you can meet people like that. And you're like, wow, what's going on there? But that's the yoga, that's the yoga of you. That's the yoga of doing your chart. We all have all these different unique combinations.
I have a question.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Sorry I can't come on video. I'm driving.
Okay.
But yeah, so I kind of if you could, I'm having a hard time articulating my question, so I'm going to do the best I can. But basically, I guess I'm just kind of wondering, so these cards that you gave us, I'm a Sagittarius, right? So I'll use mine where it was like, okay, seek in the beginning of your life. And then you said at the end, we'll be able to look back and go, cool, this is what I see, and this is what I've done, and this is what I know. And so that's my individual why my soul chose to come here and be a Sagittarius sun this time, sun this time. So does that also speak to, you were talking about before with evolutionary astrology, my purpose here as well, as far as the collective goes, what I'm here to kind of bring to the collective? Does that make sense?
It kind of, well, I'll tell you I'll say back what I'm kind of hearing. Let's see if I got it. Okay. I think it's part of the purpose. The sun is a major part of it. We'd also need to look at your nodes.
God.
And then we synthesize it. And what I can definitely say is the sun, you need to do this right now because it lights you up. It gives you energy. And there might be an additional piece about the purpose that would unfold as I see the rest of your chart with what's on the midheaven, what's your dharma and your karma.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
Did I get it, or do you want to?
No, that's great. And that's great. That makes sense that you need more to kind of figure out what I can bring to the collective or whatever. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Can I ask a philosophical question? It's been burning in my head and I've not asked it. I don't know how to articulate it, but so astrology seems based on the physical reality of planets, the sun, right?
Mhm.
But if we're primarily spiritual beings, how does that help? How does astrology intersect with that? Sorry, small question.
Oh, that is above my pay grade. I do not know.
It's a
See,
very
this
Sagittarian
is
question.
Sag. Like, we need another Sag to come in. Y'all, I need y'all to figure that out.
Even any thoughts on that, right? Because I mean, you're a spiritual person. That's really important. You're orienting your spirit and connecting with your spirit.
Yeah.
And you're using physical things of this world to orient from.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Okay. I think I know what you're saying. What I would say is I think it's a tool that's there to help guide us if we choose, and that it's not required. And you could get the same answers through meditation, through working with the plant medicines, through many, many ways. And so I feel like it's this little gift that the universe gave us of like, here's some clues if you're not getting the message, which often happens for me. I need 8 people to tell me. So I see it in the chart and I'm like, let me call another astrologer. What do you see? And then she sees it. And then I go see, just so, because that's what I found too, when people then talk about the Enneagram or different things, I'm like, oh yeah, I see they're often so similar that I feel like the universe is trying to help us out, dropping us these little things. But I also hope that when I'm working with someone, I'm helping you learn more about you through the astrology, that you're not sitting home going, well, I'll be able to make a decision as soon as Uranus crosses my midheaven. It might not happen until it crosses over, but it doesn't mean if you have the answer sooner, you do it. And I think that's what it is. It's as above, so below. We're all connected. It's all connected.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Great. It's so funny. In my business career, I always gave yes or no answers. And I would have managers say, well, say more. And I'm like, it was no. I mean, it was yes. My brain would freeze. And then I get into astrology and I can't stop talking. So, sorry.
No,
it lights me up.
Beautiful. No, I thought it was such a beautiful question. And I think when I asked about the nodes, RHETTA, like my work with you was so, I found the aspect of the nodes and working with your Dharma so spiritual, because it shows where you're coming from, what your innate gifts are, and kind of what your safe places where your spirit feels nurtured and nourished. And I find that a great complement to spiritual work and healing work. To use as an example, I know my South Node is Taurus. And so coming from, you were like, you are surrounded by animals and you are surrounded by nature in so many past lives. And that those crumbs and those threads have stayed consistent for sure throughout my life, of like, that's where I go to feel safe. That's where I go to feel nourished, and I'm most truly aligned with my spiritual self when I'm surrounded by animals. And there's an animal on me usually, was true. So I find astrology deeply spiritual and like supportive of kind of staying true to your Dharma in this lifetime.
And if you would like, I almost thought of presenting the nodes today and just, I don't know, didn't, but I mean, we could do the nodes because the nodes stay in a sign for 18 months. So you kind of have your cohort. So anyone born, a year, maybe a year after you, within a year, you probably have the same nodal axis. So those are kind of easy. I can just put up dates, birth dates, and you go, oh, those are mine. You know, I'm this one or that one. But just throwing that out there. Yeah. And so your reach goal, that's what it is. Your Dharma is also your reach goal, is to go deeper and to make what is unconscious conscious. It's powerful healing. Was it in the 10th house? I can't remember.
I know my nodes.
You do? What are yours?
I think Cancer in the 10th house, and then I think the opposite of that is Capricorn, I believe.
Yeah. So do you know which one was South Node and which one was North Node?
South was Capricorn and Cancer.
Okay. So like a couple quick notes about that would mean something about in your past life, you were very responsible. You were probably under a heavy burden. Maybe you were responsible for the community or your family, or leading, and you were probably doing a really good job at it, of protecting and providing. And then what might have got missed is you didn't have time to feel. There was work to be done, wood to chop. We got to get up this mountain, or whatever it might be, right? And so you didn't get to sit and go, oh, you know, I broke my foot 3 miles back, because we had stuff to do. So a lot of this lifetime is about you feeling, just sinking into being, getting in touch with emotions, knowing it's okay to feel. But also I would think you brought in these gifts of, you are very responsible, you know, and people probably see that about you, like, oh, well, we're going to give it to Talia because she can do it. Right. And this, a lot of this life is going, no, I'm only signing up for the mountain I want to climb.
Well, that's right on. And that was my family. And I wish I had known this 30 years ago, but it's okay. It's part of the journey.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know my nodes too. Do you
Okay,
want?
what are yours?
My North Node is in Capricorn in the 8th house.
Okay.
And my South Node is in Cancer in the 2nd house.
Okay. And so yours is the opposite. You two are like doing a high five mid galactic crossing like that. And there's a way to work up the whole story. So I'm just going to do quick, just the signs. Wait, so do I have this right? South Node, Cancer, North Node. So there's a feeling of yours that you were surrounded by nurturing. Maybe you were the responsible parent. You had to stay home and take care of all the children. You're responsible for caretaking and a lot of people's emotional well-being. And so in this lifetime, your reach goal, that North Star, is to go and be like, to be focused more on, what do I want to accomplish? I've got a goal in this life. And what you may find happens, you get pulled back into some family stuff. And I have a client who has this, and she's launching this huge business, and she has children she adores, and they were kind of all set up and doing their thing, and she's launching the business. And then there's one of the daughters then started to need her more. A health crisis occurred. And I was like, that is, you know, I thought it was a bizarre event. And then I realized, oh, that's the Dharma. She's always going to have to do this yoga of, how do I manage caring for those I love and achieving my goals out in the world? Does that resonate with you, Angelica?
Absolutely, yeah. Mm-hmm.
How do you manage that today?
Well, you know, let's see. Okay, I'm going to talk about addiction for a second because it's an important part of my story. I was an active addict and alcoholic for a long time, most of my life, from when I was 13 to when I was 25. And I think that was all like my only way to manage at that point, because I was trying so hard to help all those people. I didn't realize I could do that yoga. I thought I had to succumb to the caretaking and of everyone in my life and the whole world, even probably. And I had in this lifetime, I had a single mom, abusive father. So like, yeah, I've been taking care of her since I was in the womb. Right. And still do so sometimes. But anyways, like 5 years ago, I got sober. Well, it'll actually be 6 in June. 6 years ago, I got sober, and that has been the tools I've learned in my sobriety, not just the steps, but also like, yoga and meditation and sound healing and things like this. Have taught me boundaries. I would say boundaries are the way I manage now.
Yeah, that's beautiful, because that would make sense. In a past life, there were no boundaries. You were like the utility. Here just to take care of everyone else's needs. So that's beautiful. Doing the notes. Congratulations and kudos on 5 years, 6 years. That's big. That is a big deal.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much. That was lovely. I appreciate you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, RHETTA.
Oh, thank you.
I love, yes, you just have such great energy and your approach is so unique. So thank you for being with us. If folks want to find you, where can they find you?
At RHETTAROWLAND.com. Should I put that in the thingy?
Yes, and I'll include that in the email too that I send out. Yeah, I'll link that.
Yeah. I think that's the best way. There's an email, or just email me directly, which is RHETTA@RHETTAROWLAND.com. I mean, I'm on Instagram and stuff too. I just respond faster to email. I'm of that generation. But yes, thank you. Thank you so much. You've been great.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you everybody for coming tonight. Yeah.
And I am, have a little blog newsletter coming out tomorrow with more about the eclipse, and bi-weekly I do write about the big weather events, so that's another thing. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.